Okay, so what if? What if the real secret to, building financial security wasn't about these super complicated budgets?
Or like having to make drastic cuts everywhere.
Exactly. What if it was simpler? Maybe just a shift. Almost a counterintuitive little shift in when you actually save your money.
Uh-huh.
Imagine, like, money just automatically flowing towards your goals, before you even pay bills or,
Or spend anything.
right, creating that safety net almost effortlessly. Over time, anyway.
Yeah. That's pretty much the core idea, isn't it? This whole pay yourself first concept.
Yeah. And people call it, the number one habit for building wealth for a good reason.
So welcome everyone to this deep dive. We've
Hmm.
pulled together a bunch of sources, articles, some research, expert views, even a bit of history
Yeah, quite a stack.
to really unpack this idea of pay yourself first. We're going to get into what it actually means.
Where it came from, which is kind of surprising.
Right. And why it works so well. Like the psychology behind it is fascinating.
It really is. And then the practical stuff, how you actually do it, is definitely actionable strategies. But we also need to be real,
Yeah.
Look at the challenges.
Yeah. Who might struggle with this? When does it maybe not make sense or needs adjusting? Like, what about debt?
Exactly. High interest debt is a big one. So our mission here is to cut through all the noise.
Distill it down.
Yeah. Pull out the key wisdom from these sources and give you a clear, actionable picture. We want you to leave understanding not just what it is, but how it works, why it works.
And how you could potentially make it work for you.
Okay, let's unpack this.
It's amazing, really. Something that sounds so basic, pay yourself first, can be the foundation for so much financial success.
Yeah.
At its core, it just means making savings and investments your absolute top financial priority right after you get paid.
Which feels really backward for most people, doesn't it? Because the
Yeah.
default thinking is you get paid, and first thought is, okay, who do I owe?
Right. The landlord, the credit card company, the car loan.
All the external bills, you pay everyone else first.
Exactly. The standard way most people operate, maybe without even realizing it, is income minus expenses equals, well, whatever's left over for savings, if anything's left.
And usually there isn't much, right? Life happens, expenses pop up.
Or just, lifestyle creep. It eats it up.
Yeah.
So saving becomes this afterthought.
Then pay yourself first just completely flips that around.
Totally flips it. It changes the equation. It becomes income minus savings and investments equals what's left for expenses.
Oh, okay.
You decide up front, this chunk of my income is for future me, for savings, for investments, for building wealth, and that money comes off the top immediately.
Like it's your most important bill.
Exactly. That's why some people call it reverse budgeting. You're not budgeting what's left after spending. You're budgeting for your goals first, and then figuring out how to live on the rest.
Okay, let's be super clear, though. Paying yourself here doesn't mean, payday, let's go shopping. Oh, absolutely not. That's a really common misconception, and it's crucial to get it right. This isn't about treating yourself to instant gratification on payday.
Right.
Paying yourself means allocating that money specifically towards your future financial security. So putting it into a dedicated savings account, maybe a retirement fund like a 401k or an IRA, or into a brokerage account for investing.
Or maybe, in some cases, paying down debt, though we'll get into the nuances there.
Yeah, exactly. Aggressively paying down significant high-interest debt can fit here, but the order save first or debt first is definitely debated, and we need to explore that.
But the main goal is that consistency, right?
Yeah.
Making saving and investing a regular, non-negotiable habit.
Precisely. It's about building that discipline, making sure your financial future is being actively constructed month after month, paycheck after paycheck.
Because if it's the first priority, impulse spending just has less opportunity to mess things up. Exactly. It's a proactive move. It guarantees you're making progress towards those big goals, like having a solid emergency fund, funding your retirement, maybe saving for a down payment or starting a business. It shifts saving from being this hopeful wish at the end of the month
to something that's actually locked in, a guaranteed outcome almost.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's such a powerful concept, and what really jumped out at me from the sources was just how old this idea is. You'd think it's some modern finance bro invention, right?
Right. But no, the actual phrase pay yourself first goes way back, nearly 100 years.
to the 1920s.
Yeah, the Roaring Twenties. And the guy credited with really popularizing it was named George Samuel Clason.
And he wasn't your typical Wall Street guy, was he? He was an entrepreneur.
That's right. He had a publishing company in Denver, Colorado, the Clason Map Company. And get this, fun fact from the sources.
Yeah.
His company made one of the very first road atlases for the US and Canada. Imagine trying to drive cross-country back then without one.
Wow. Okay, so a map guy.
Yeah.
How did he get into financial advice? Well, his business was successful. And starting in 1926, he began putting out these little pamphlets. But they weren't dry, boring financial guides. He used parables.
Stories.
Yeah, simple stories set in ancient Babylon.
Babylon, which was known as like the richest city in the ancient world.
Exactly. So it gave the advice this timeless, almost mythical quality. Like these are fundamental truths about money that have always worked.
Clever framing.
It was. And the most famous story, the one that really introduced this pay yourself first idea, is about two buddies.
Okay.
They were skilled workers, earned good money over the years,
Mm-hmm.
but they looked at their wallets, their lean purses, as the story goes, and were like, why have we got nothing to show for all this hard work?
Man, that feeling is timeless, isn't it? So many people feel that way today.
Absolutely. So what do? They go find the richest guy in Babylon, this fellow named Arkad.
Arkad, got it.
He wasn't just known for being loaded, but also for being generous. They basically ask him, hey, Arkad, what's the secret? How did you get rich while we're still struggling?
And Arkad drops the wisdom.
He does. But it wasn't some complicated scheme. He said it was discipline. He told them when he was young, just a poor scrub.
Mm-hmm.
He made a decision. He decided that, quote, a part of all he earns is his to keep.
A part of all he earns is his to keep. So simple, almost sounds obvious, but it's profound.
It really is, especially when you think about how most people handle money.
Mm.
So Arkad started putting aside 1/10, 10% of everything he earned, first, before anything else.
Wow, there's that 10% rule we still hear all the time, right there in ancient Babylon.
Pretty much. The exact percentage might vary for people today, but the principle. And here's the kicker, the big realization Arkad had.
Yeah.
Once he started saving that 10%, he forced himself to live on the other 90%.
Yeah.
And what he discovered was amazing. He found he was no shorter of funds than when he was spending the whole 100%.
Whoa. So his spending just adjusted. He didn't actually feel deprived.
Apparently not. Because he made the adjustment before the money was available to spend.
Yeah.
His expenses naturally kind of compressed to fit what was left.
That's the magic right there. It proves you can live on less if you make saving the absolute first step.
That's the core discovery behind paying yourself first. It's about making saving non-negotiable.
And the sources point out how this ancient idea still echoes today. Like you see hints of it in things like Mike Michalovich's book, Profit First for Businesses.
Right, applying that same kind of prioritization principle to company finances. Though the sources are careful to say modern budgeting is only, loosely based on his specific system sometimes.
But the fundamental idea, setting money aside first, that hasn't changed. It's still incredibly powerful.
It really is. It shows how some truths about human behavior and money are just timeless. The tools change, the context changes, but the principle holds.
Okay, speaking of power and timelessness, let's really dig into why. Why does this strategy actually work so well for so many people? It seems like it's more than just a rule. It taps into something deeper about how we operate.
Oh, definitely. A huge reason it's so effective is that it tackles a fundamental problem in personal finance. Our tendency for spending to just expand to meet whatever income we have available.
Parkinson's law, right. But for money, expenses rise to meet income.
Exactly. If the money's just sitting there in your checking account, you'll find ways to spend it. Bills arrive, unexpected things pop up, or maybe just you see something you want.
Yeah.
And boom, end of the month, where did it all go? Nothing left to save. Like one source said simply, we often find ways to spend what's available.
Money behaves like a gas, filling the container.
Perfect analogy. And paying yourself first deliberately shrinks that container right from the start, which leads to the next big advantage.
Yeah.
It takes temptation and willpower mostly out of the picture.
Yes, willpower. Famously unreliable.
Totally. Making good financial choices often means resisting that immediate urge, that instant gratification for a bigger reward later. That takes willpower.
And willpower gets tired. You use it up all day making other decisions.
Exactly. At work, with family. By the time you're looking at your bank balance at the end of the month thinking, should I transfer some to savings? Your willpower might just be shot. And the easiest thing is, I'll do it next month. Or just spend it.
So pay yourself first, especially if you automate it, kind of bypasses that whole internal battle.
Completely. By setting the money aside first, ideally through an automatic transfer, you remove that moment of choice, that point of temptation. The money moves out of your easy reach checking account and into a savings or investment account. It's just not there to be spent on impulse.
It goes from being a decision you have to make every single time.
To a system you just set up once. Much easier.
And that leads to consistent growth, right? Because it happens no matter what.
Yes, it becomes a no excuses system. Maybe you spent a bit more on eating out this month or had an unexpected car repair. But if you paid yourself first, that savings contribution still happened.
So your progress continues regardless of the monthly ups and downs in spending.
Exactly. That ensures steady, predictable growth for your savings and investments over time, which is absolutely crucial if you want to harness the real power of compound interest.
And that consistency builds a really vital safety net.
This is where that Reddit story one of the sources mentioned really hits home.
Oh yeah, tell us about that.
Someone shared that for a couple of months, their spending kind of went off the rails. They overspent their budget pretty significantly.
Okay, happens to the best of us.
Right. But normally, if you're saving whatever's left over, that would mean zero savings for those months, maybe even having to pull money out of savings.
Yes, you go backward.
But this person had automated their pay yourself first. Money was automatically going to their 401k, their Roth IRA, their HSA, and a separate savings account before they touched their discretionary money.
So even though their everyday spending was messy,
They still made significant financial progress during those messy months. Their long-term savings kept growing because that system was locked in place first.
wow, that's powerful. It's like a buffer. It absorbs the shocks without derailing everything.
Exactly. It shows how the strategy provides real resilience, tangible progress, even when life throws curveballs or your budgeting discipline temporarily slips.
And I imagine that feeling of security must just slash your stress levels.
Immensely. Financial worries are a huge source of anxiety.
Yeah.
Knowing you have an emergency fund growing, knowing you're consistently putting money away for retirement automatically, that provides incredible peace of mind.
Takes away that constant nagging worry about what if.
Yeah, because you know you're actively building the answer to what if. It also, interestingly, makes the rest of your budgeting simpler.
How so?
Well, if, say 15% or 20% of your income is already taken care of whisked away to savings first, then you just focus on managing the remaining 80% or 85%.
Okay, yeah.
You're not trying to constantly squeeze out savings from every category at the end of the month. The budget becomes less about restriction and more about managing what's realistically available after you've prioritized your future.
Less like a taskmaster, more like a tool.
Good way to put it.
Yeah.
And that can actually lead to guilt-free spending with the money that's left.
Really? How does that work?
Because once your savings goals are handled, that important bill to your future self is paid, you have a much clearer picture of what's truly available for your needs and wants.
Okay.
So spending within that remaining amount feels different. You're not thinking, oh, I probably should be saving this. You already did the saving. So you can enjoy that coffee or that movie or whatever without the guilt.
As long as you stick within the remaining funds, of course.
Absolutely. And ultimately, the biggest advantage is just it drastically increases the odds you'll actually reach your financial goals, and probably faster. Because saving isn't optional anymore. It's the priority.
Some sources even mentioned it can shift your whole mindset, right? Like thinking of your finances as a business you're growing.
Yeah, that's an interesting psychological angle. For some, it helps them move away from just a paycheck-to-paycheck view to seeing themselves as actively building something, managing their personal enterprise.
Okay, the benefits are really clear, powerful stuff. But let's get practical. How do people actually do this? What are the concrete steps?
Right, step one is crucial. You need a solid savings plan. And that starts with a really honest look at your finances.
The dreaded budget review.
Yeah, kind of. But it's essential. You need to know your income, all sources. You need to track your expenses. Where's the money actually going? And you need to know your starting point. What savings do you already have?
Got to know where you are to figure out where you're going. Makes sense. Then what?
Then you decide how much you can realistically set aside. And this is key. Base that number, whether it's a percentage or a fixed amount, on your net pay, your take-home pay.
After taxes, health insurance, all that stuff, not the big gross number.
Exactly. Gross pay is fool's gold for budgeting. And if your income varies a lot, maybe you're hourly, freelance, commission-based.
Yeah, that seems tricky.
It is. You need to put in the effort to figure out a realistic average net income over, say, the last 3-6 months. And if you're self-employed, you absolutely have to factor in estimated taxes you'll owe. Don't forget Uncle Sam.
Right. Calculate based on the money that actually lands in your pocket.
Precisely. Then get specific about your goals for this money. What are you saving for? Is the top priority building that 3-6 month emergency fund?
Which is usually the first recommendation.
Absolutely. Or maybe you've got that covered and now you're focusing on maxing out retirement accounts or saving for a down payment. Knowing the goal helps you direct the funds and stay motivated.
And how much should people aim for? The sources mention guidelines.
Yeah, the common recommendation from many experts is to aim for saving 10% to 20% of your net income.
That sounds like a lot for some people.
It can be, definitely. And it might require adjusting your spending, finding places to cut back. But even if you can't hit 10% right away, start somewhere. 5%, 2%, even 1%. Building the habit is crucial.
It ties into that 50-30-20 rule too, right?
It's exactly. The rule suggests 50% of income for needs, 30% for wants, and 20% for savings debt. Pay yourself first is essentially saying, make damn sure that 20% bucket gets filled first. And often, that means deliberately taking some from the 30% wants category and moving it to savings before you spend it.
So you might have to choose between saving more and some of those wants.
That's the trade-off, yeah.
Yeah.
Some more technical sources, like FinEdge, even give specific financial health ratios to shoot for.
Like what?
Things like a reserve to surplus ratio, basically the percentage of your income you don't spend aiming for 20% or more. And a savings to surplus ratio, how much of that unspent surplus you're actually saving or investing, aiming for over 75%.
Okay, getting a bit more advanced there.
Yeah, but they also make a key point. If your debt-to-income ratio is really high, you just won't have much surplus left to save anyway, which often means tackling debt needs to be the priority before you can really implement pay yourself first effectively.
Right. Okay, so you've got a plan. You know how much based on net pay, you have goals. What's the absolute linchpin technique to make this actually happen consistently?
Automation. Hands down. Automate everything you possibly can.
That came up again and again in the sources, the magic word.
It really is. It's called the most effective strategy because, like one source said, it takes minimum effort once set up. You do the work once, and the system takes over.
Using that inertia we talked about, making the good habit the easy default.
Exactly. Set up an automatic transfer from your checking account to your savings account, or your IRA, or your brokerage account. Most banks make this super easy to do online.
And timing matters.
Yeah, the best practice is to schedule that transfer for a day or two after your paycheck typically lands. That way the money is gone before you even really notice it's there, before you mentally earmark it for spending.
Out of sight, out of mind into savings.
Pretty much. And even better is using your employer's payroll system if you can.
Direct deposit splits.
Yes. If your employer offers it, you can tell them, send $6 or Y% of my paycheck directly to this separate savings account and send the rest to my checking.
That's the ultimate don't see the money strategy. It never even hits your main account.
Exactly. It makes impulsive spending of that portion impossible. It's incredibly powerful for building the habit.
And this automation applies to investing too, right? With SIPs.
Yep, systematic investment plans. These are just automated ways to invest a set amount regularly, usually monthly, into things like mutual funds. It enforces discipline. You become an investor by default, not by remembering to do it.
And those step-up SIPs sound smart too, automatically increasing the amount each year.
Yeah, that's a great feature. It helps your savings keep pace with potential raises without you having to manually adjust it every time. Aligns your saving growth with your income growth automatically.
Okay, automation is king. What about where the automated money should go? Tax-advantaged accounts seem critical.
Absolutely essential for long-term wealth building. You want to leverage accounts like 401k, especially if your employer offers one.
And IRAs, both traditional and Roth, which you usually open yourself.
And potentially health savings accounts, HSAs, if you have a qualifying high-deductible health plan.
These aren't just savings buckets. They come with major tax perks.
Huge perks. With traditional 401ks, traditional IRAs, and HSAs, your contributions are often pre-tax. That means the money goes in before income tax is calculated on it, lowering your taxable income right now.
So you save on taxes today.
Yes. And then the money inside grows tax-deferred. You don't pay taxes on the interest or investment gains each year. Taxes are typically only paid when you withdraw the money in retirement, or tax-free for qualified medical expenses with an HSA.
And the 401k match, don't leave that on the table.
Never. If your employer offers a match like they put in 50 cents for every dollar you contribute, up to 6% of your salary or whatever their formula is, you have to contribute at least enough to get that full match.
It's literally free money.
It is, and that free money compounds over decades. Missing the match is one of the biggest financial mistakes people make.
It's also important to not just set these contributions and forget them forever. you should review and increase them.
Definitely. Check in periodically. Are you happy with your contribution rate? Can you bump it up? Especially after a raise. Even a small percentage increase makes a massive difference over 20 or 30 years, thanks to compounding.
And increasing contributions when you get a raise ties directly into that other key strategy, fighting lifestyle inflation.
Ah, yes, the silent wealth killer.
It's so easy to fall into, isn't it? Income goes up, spending magically rises to meet it. New car, bigger apartment, more eating out.
Happens all the time. That lifestyle inflation just eats away at the extra money that could have gone towards accelerating your savings and wealth building. You end up earning more, but not necessarily getting further ahead financially.
So the trick is to capture that raise before it gets absorbed into your regular spending.
Exactly. The moment you know you're getting a raise or a bonus, the very first action should be to go into your payroll or your automatic transfer settings and increase your savings contribution.
Send a chunk of that new money straight to savings or investments.
Right. Increase your 401k percentage. Up your automatic transfer amount. Do it before you get used to seeing that bigger number in your checking account. Treat the increased savings like a mandatory bill increase that gets paid first.
Reinforces the pay yourself first discipline even as income grows.
Precisely.
Okay, so you've planned, automated, used the right accounts, fought lifestyle creep. Where specifically should the money land, especially early on?
The sources are unanimous on this. Priority number one is building that emergency fund,
The safety net.
the non-negotiable safety net. This needs to be in a safe, easily accessible place, typically a high-yield savings account that's separate from your main checking account.
And the target is usually?
Standard advice is 3 to 6 months worth of your essential living expenses. Rent or mortgage, utilities, food, transportation, basic insurance, enough to cover your core needs if your income suddenly stopped.
And that Fed report you mentioned showed a lot of people are nowhere near that.
Yeah, it's worrying. Less than half of Americans could handle a $2,000 emergency with savings alone. It highlights how critical this first step is. This fund protects you from unexpected shocks, job loss, medical bills, car trouble, without forcing you into debt or making you raid your long-term investments prematurely.
It's your financial firewall.
Exactly. Once that emergency fund is healthy and fully funded, then you can confidently start directing your pay-yourself-first money more aggressively towards other goals.
Like maxing out retirement accounts.
Yep, hitting those 401k and IRA contribution limits, or investing in a taxable brokerage account for goals that are maybe 5, 10, 15 years away.
You also mentioned putting some savings into less liquid investments later on.
Yeah, that's a strategy for after the emergency fund is solid. Money in savings is super easy to access, which is good for emergencies, but maybe too easy for impulse buys.
Right.
Converting some savings beyond the emergency fund into investment stocks, bonds, ETFs adds a layer of friction. You have to actively sell the asset to get the cash.
Creates a behavioral hurdle, makes you pause and think.
Exactly. It discourages dipping in for non-essential things. Plus, crucially, money invested generally has the potential to grow much faster over the long haul than money in savings. You might get, say, 8–10% average annual returns historically in the market versus maybe 1–4% in a savings account, depending on rates.
Making your money work much harder for you through compounding.
That's the goal. So the where evolves. Start with a safe, accessible emergency fund, then move to growth-oriented investments for the long term.
The sources also briefly touched on cash value life insurance.
They did, mentioning it as another potential pay-yourself-first vehicle because it combines insurance with a savings or investment component that grows tax-deferred. You can often borrow against or withdraw the cash value later.
But with caveats.
Big caveats. The sources rightly caution that these policies can be complex, often have high fees, and might bundle features you don't need. Compared to buying cheaper term life insurance and investing the difference yourself, cash value policies often underperform or cost more. It's an option, but one that requires very careful scrutiny.
Okay, that makes sense. We've talked a lot about the how, but let's circle back to the why from a psychological angle. How does this strategy so effectively tap into our behavioral quirks?
This is where it gets really interesting, using insights from behavioral economics. That field shows we're not always the rational actors traditional economics assumes we are. Our decisions are swayed by emotions, biases, social factors.
We're predictably irrational, as Dan Ariely would say.
Exactly. And pay yourself first works so well because it's designed to navigate around these irrational tendencies rather than relying on us to constantly fight them with pure logic and willpower.
Like the big one. Instant gratification. We want things now.
Our brains are wired for it. A reward today feels much better than a bigger reward promised far off in the future. Traditional saving, I'll save what's left, plays right into this. The money is available now, availability bias, tempting us to spend it for immediate pleasure.
But automation flips the script on that.
Yes. Automation acts as a pre-commitment device. You're committing the money to your future self before the temptation to spend it now even arises. The money is automatically moved, making it less available.
So it neutralizes the availability bias and makes delayed gratification the default path.
Exactly. It cleverly uses our own psychology against our impulsive tendencies. And it leverages inertia too.
Our tendency to just stick with the status quo.
Precisely. Behavioral studies show people are much more likely to stay in a savings plan if they're automatically enrolled, opt out, than if they have to actively sign up, opt in.
Because opting out requires effort. Staying in is easy.
Right. Once you set up those automatic pay-yourself-first transfers, the path of least resistance is just letting them continue. Inertia starts working for your savings goals, not against them.
It also creates that feeling of skin in the game, doesn't it?
It really can. When money moves into a dedicated savings or investment account, your brain starts to see it differently than just cash floating in your checking account. It's been allocated.
Like you've paid a bill, but the bill was to Future You Inc.
Huh, exactly. And then watching that account grow, seeing the balance tick up that provides positive reinforcement. It feels good, creates motivation, makes you feel connected to the outcome.
And what about loss aversion? Our tendency to hate losses more than we enjoy equivalent gains.
That plays a role too. Once you've built up a dedicated savings pot using this method, the thought of withdrawing from it for something frivolous can feel like a real loss. You're taking money away from your future self, undoing your progress. That psychological pain acts as a deterrent.
So unlike traditional budgeting, which feels like a constant uphill battle against temptation,
Pay yourself first, especially automated, uses these psychological levers to make saving the easier, more natural behavior. It reduces the constant mental strain.
while knowing about other biases anchoring confirmation bias, herd behavior is still important for overall financial health.
This strategy provides a powerful structural defense against letting those biases drive impulsive spending decisions with the money meant for your future. It's smart design based on how humans actually behave.
Okay, so the money's being saved, automatically tapping into our psychology. Brilliant. But eventually you might need to access it. It's not locked in a vault forever, right?
Correct. It's not permanently inaccessible.
Mm.
But the whole mindset behind these funds is that they're earmarked for specific, significant wealth-building purposes, not for everyday stuff.
So what are the green lights? When is it okay to tap into these accumulated savings or investments beyond the emergency fund?
The sources generally point towards using the funds for major investments or life goals. Things like investing in a physical asset.
Like a down payment on a house.
Exactly. Or maybe buying an investment property or even a vehicle outright if it fits your larger plan and you've crunched the numbers.
What about paper assets?
Yes, using accumulated funds to buy more stocks, bonds, or mutual funds could make sense, maybe during a market dip or as part of a strategic allocation shift. Also, starting or investing in a business using capital to create potential future income streams definitely aligns with the wealth-building goal.
And paying off big debts.
That's listed too, using saved funds to knock out large, impactful debts like student loans or a mortgage. But again, remembering that debate, sometimes it makes more sense to use savings as you go to eliminate high-interest debt first, rather than letting savings accumulate while high interest racks up. But tackling big debt with saved funds is seen as a valid use.
Okay, those are the potential yes scenarios. What about the definite no's? When should you absolutely not touch this money?
Big red flag. Withdrawing just because you feel you deserve something nice but don't have the cash in your regular budget.
Using savings like a credit card.
Exactly. That completely defeats the purpose. Also, avoid using it for small bumps in the road that your primary emergency fund should handle, or things that you could reasonably cash flow over a couple of months.
And definitely not for predictable planned expenses.
Right. Holidays, birthdays, vacations, those need to be budgeted for from your regular income stream,
Yeah.
not funded by raiding your long-term savings. This money is for building your future foundation, not plugging gaps in today's discretionary spending.
That distinction is so important. Like that Reddit story, the person overspent their budget, but didn't touch the automated savings. They dealt with the overspending from their regular cash flow.
Exactly. The pay-yourself-first money stayed protected because it was prioritized and separate. Now, There's a specific nuance with Roth IRAs regarding accessibility that's worth mentioning.
Yeah, because you contribute after-tax money to a Roth.
That's the key. Because taxes were already paid on the contributions, you can withdraw the amount you contributed to a Roth IRA at any time for any reason without taxes or penalties.
Okay, so that provides some extra flexibility in a real pinch.
It does. It means your Roth contributions could serve as a secondary emergency fund if your main one is totally wiped out. But, and it's a big but doing so takes away from your retirement nest egg, so it's not ideal.
And the earnings are different, the money your contributions made.
Totally different rules for earnings. Generally, earnings can only come out tax-free and penalty-free if you're at least 59 and a half years old, and the account has been open for 5 years or more. That's the 5-year rule.
Both conditions usually have to be met for qualified withdrawals in retirement.
Typically, yes. There are some exceptions to the 10% early withdrawal penalty on earnings, things like disability, death, using up to $10K for a first-time home purchase, still need to meet the 5-year rule, or for higher education, but you'd likely still owe income tax on those earnings unless it's a fully qualified withdrawal meeting the age and 5-year criteria. So bottom line, Roth contributions are relatively accessible, earnings much less so before retirement. Got it. Okay, we've covered a massive amount, the what, the why, the how, the psychology, the access rules. But the sources were realistic, too. This isn't a magic wand for everyone, right? What are the challenges?
Yeah, it's definitely not a one-size-fits-all magic bullet. It can be really tough for certain people. Anyone with a very irregular income, for instance.
Freelancers, gig workers.
Exactly. It's much harder to automate a fixed amount or percentage when your income fluctuates wildly month to month. It takes more active management.
And the biggest hurdle seems to be for folks living paycheck to paycheck.
Absolutely. If your income barely covers the absolute essentials, rent, food, utilities, getting to work, the idea of carving out 10% or 20% first can feel completely impossible.
You can't save what you literally don't have after covering necessities.
Right. Telling someone in that situation to just pay yourself first can sound out of touch. Cutting back on food or risking eviction to save isn't a viable strategy.
And then there's that debt issue we keep circling back to. It's a critical counterpoint. Many experts, and some sources, argue very strongly that if you're carrying high-interest debt, especially credit cards charging 18%, 20%, 25% or more, your absolute first financial priority should be throwing every spare dollar at that debt, because paying that off gives you a guaranteed return equal to that high interest rate.
A guaranteed 20% return is hard to beat with investing, especially short term.
Exactly. The cost of carrying that debt likely outweighs any potential gains from saving or investing that same money. So the argument is, stop the financial bleeding first, pay off the toxic debt before aggressively saving or investing.
And trying to save aggressively while carrying that debt could even backfire.
It could. If you commit too much to saving first and then end up missing debt payments, you get hit with late fees, penalty interest rates, and damage your credit score, digging a deeper hole. The FinEdge source was blunt. Pay yourself first probably won't work well if you have high debt. Focus on repayment first.
So you really need to assess your whole picture, especially high-interest debt, before just blindly applying the rule.
Absolutely. Awareness is key. For those struggling with low income or high debt, the advice isn't don't save at all. It's usually start small.
Even a tiny amount.
Yeah. Even if it's just 1% of your income or $25 a paycheck. Saving something consistently helps build the habit, gets the process started, and still benefits from compounding over the very long term. Find an amount you can truly afford without compromising essentials or debt payments.
And the final challenge is just the potential need to live more frugally.
Yeah, if your income is limited, prioritizing savings inevitably means less money available for discretionary spending, for the wants.
It requires that constant trade-off, fun stuff now versus security later.
Exactly. And while the long-term benefits are clear, living a very frugal lifestyle in the short term can be mentally tough or feel demotivating for some people. It's a real trade-off that requires conscious buy-in.
Wow. Okay, so bringing this all together, we've gone from ancient parables to modern psychology. What's the big takeaway?
I think the big takeaway is that pay yourself first is way more than just a catchy phrase. It's a fundamental shift in perspective. It's about consciously elevating your own future financial well-being to the status of your most important financial obligation.
Making it a non-negotiable bill you pay to yourself, essentially.
Exactly. And by doing that synced, especially using automation, you cleverly sidestep a lot of the behavioral traps and practical hurdles that make traditional savings so hard for many people.
It has this deep history, solid behavioral science backing it, and clear, practical steps anyone can start taking. It seems like a really foundational habit for building that safety net, getting compounding working for you, and ultimately achieving more financial peace of mind.
The power really comes from that consistency, the automation removing the friction, and just letting time and compound interest do their magic on money you proactively set aside for yourself.
Okay, so here's a final thought to leave you with. Consider this. In a world that constantly pushes instant gratification, where it's so easy to spend everything you earn, making that conscious choice to reroute money to your future self before you even get a chance to spend it. That's not just a financial tactic. It's almost like a quiet act of rebellion against the status quo.
Interesting way to put it. Prioritizing your future in a present-focused world.
Yeah. And if that simple habit, that small act of prioritizing, can build a safety net strong enough to keep your long-term goals intact, even when your daily spending gets a little messy, what else could that discipline, that habit of consistently investing in your future self unlock for you over the next 5, 10, or even 20 years?